It's just about 7:20 in the morning now here in Paris. Let's take a look through the top headlines in the French newspapers of the day. I'm joined for that by Haxi Myers-Belkin. Nice to see you, Haxi.
Hi.
We're going to start off with one of our top stories in our main news bulletin coming out of Turkey. We've seen just absolutely immense crowds in the centre of Istanbul.
Absolutely. Let's start with Catholic paper La Croix, which is running an image of Turkish flags held aloft under the headline La Turquie à l'heure d'Erdogan, which translates roughly as Erdogan's Turkey. The paper's editorial expands under the single word untouchable. On Sunday, hundreds of thousands of people, as you said, and millions, according to Turkish media, took to the streets of Istanbul to attend a rally organised by the government denouncing the coup attempt of the 15th of July. La Croix calls that mass mobilisation of people a clear show of support for the regime. It concentrates on the overwhelming atmosphere of unity, of national unity in Turkey. This, even as the paper puts it, the country appears to be sliding further and further towards dictatorship. The failed coup, argues this editorial, has legitimised President Erdogan's crackdown on minority rights, his attack on the freedom of the press, and his enthusiasm for locking up opponents. 18,000 people have been called in for questioning and a small number arrested since the 15th of July. And the majority of Turks are, it seems, on Erdogan's side.
Crackdown on his opponents, dislike for dissent. It sounds very similar to another world leader who President Erdogan seems to be trying to make friends with at the moment.
Let's stay with La Croix here with an article entitled Set Against the West, Erdogan and Putin are getting closer. The Turkish and Russian heads of state are set to meet tomorrow in St. Petersburg. For this paper, it's a meeting that will allow Vladimir Putin not only to turn the page on a long-standing diplomatic stalemate with Ankara, but also to use Turkey as an ally in Russia's diplomatic war with Europe and, of course, the US. This, of course, coming after the fact that, while Erdogan's heavy-handed response to the failed coup has been widely condemned by Western countries, Putin was the first national leader to call Erdogan and offer his sympathies in the aftermath of that failed coup attempt.
All right, and Le Monde, one of the best-known French newspapers around the world, it's seizing on another aspect of Erdogan's response to this apparent coup, perhaps the most shocking to people outside of Turkey.
Absolutely. President Erdogan would be in favour of reinstating the death penalty if that's what the people want, reads this headline. Addressing the immense crowd, Erdogan responded to growing calls for the return of capital punishment, which was outlawed in the country in 1984. Another sign, perhaps, that Turkey, which has applied to become a member of the European Union, is falling further and further away from the European project's core values. High-ranking EU officials, unsurprisingly, have used Erdogan's comments to remind people that capital punishment would automatically exclude any country from joining the union.
Right, now it's not just repression in Turkey that's making headlines. If we go back to La Croix, we've also got news from China about a crackdown, an alleged crackdown on civil liberties there.
Now, this article denounces what it calls President Xi Jinping's ongoing repression of Chinese civil society. This piece talks quite openly of show trials. The country's leader has vowed that he will root out corruption at the heart of Chinese government. But this article says that's being used as a pretext to stifle opposition voices. One of the men handed a 3-year suspended sentence is Gu Hongguo. Now, he's a human rights activist with a reputation for fighting eviction orders. Another man, Hu Shiged, a dissident author, he was given a 7-year suspended sentence.
All right, let's bring things back here to France now. Another story that most of the papers do seem to have seized on in different ways.
Now, Aujourd'hui en France is leading with what I think is a brilliant photo. It's a typical French beach scene. A mother's putting a hat on her child. The deck chairs are out. And then, of course, there are the 4 heavily armed police officers strolling through and patrolling through this typical beachside scene. L'été sous l'état d'urgence, reads this headline. Summer in a state of emergency. And the paper goes on to question how we can square les vacances, so holidays, with vigilance. After the Nice attacks of the 14th of July, France has boosted security across all typical tourist destinations. This as the number of foreign tourists coming to France for their holidays is down on last year. This article also reminds us that France has decided to cancel a number of planned events and festivities in the face of the threat posed by Islamic extremism. And they've printed a little tongue-in-cheek cartoon alongside this piece. Here in the cartoon we see a group of rather disgruntled French pétanque players. There's a security checkpoint at the entrance to the playground, and the men with their heavy metal pétanque balls in hand can't pass security. It's become a little complicated to play since they put up that metal detector, says one particularly peeved player.
A very French slice of life there. A host of summer events, as you say, have been cancelled. One of them is an absolutely mammoth flea market in Lille, or a fair rather. This has had a bit of a knock-on effect on other events being cancelled as well.
Absolutely. To cancel festivities or not, that's the dilemma facing France's mayors. That's according to Les Echos. They're having to weigh up the security risk with the risk of lost revenues, and of course, disappointment. This article quotes Lille's mayor as saying that she'd prefer to have to deal with the anger of people who've lost money as a result of having cancelled the braderie than the anger of parents who've lost a child. But that's not the same everywhere. Mayors in regions including Bayonne, Annecy and Lorient have decided to go on with local events as planned.
All right, interesting developments indeed. Thanks very much, Haximo's Belkin there, looking through the papers for us.